I've never been shot, but I think it's about like being shot. Just that instant, so much pain. Welcome to 10 Minute Travels. With me, as always, is Phil Freeman.
And with me, as always, is Shane Patrick. And tonight we have a real treat. We're going to talk about visiting mountain gorillas in Uganda.
Let's get right to it, shall we?
You recommend for someone to go see them? What would be a short list of things that you wish you had brought on the trip or thought ahead? Is there just a few little bells of wisdom in there that, having done it?
Well, they do a really good job of giving you a heads up, a good pair of hiking boots and gaiters are invaluable. The gaiters attached to your boots and keep the safari ants out. The safari ants are pretty...
Safari ants?
Yeah, that's what they call them. They could call them fire ants. They could call them...
What color are they?
They're red.
How big?
Not very. Maybe as long as your pinky nail, but much thinner.
When they bite it really hurts?
Yeah.
Like
and
what?
I've never been shot, but I think it's about like being shot. Just that instant, so much pain. And then...
By what caliber?
Just a little guy, like a 22 or something. But it's sudden, it's sharp, and then you kill them, and they swell up an inch for a while too. It's
like a mosquito or a gnat bite.
Yeah, everybody's different, right? So if you think about whatever kind of bug is most miserable to you after it's bitten you, I think that's how that safari ant behaves.
It wins?
I think so, yeah. Even if you kill it, it's already...
They get into everything, don't they?
Seems like, yeah.
So what doesn't it get into?
I don't know. You wear gaiters, so it minimizes that contact, and they're just down low for whatever reason. I don't think, I'm knocking on wood now, but I don't think they'll ever fall down the back of your shirt or something like that. I think they're low.
Unless you're lucky.
Right, you'd have to be really lucky. One thing that if you are a photographer type person, I mess around with photography, and I've taken some really nice pictures around the world, but I'm not amazing, photographing the gorillas and also like the chimpanzees in Uganda, it's really, really tough because you have a dark colored animal against dark green vegetation, and then sometimes with sun behind it. So I would suggest if you're one of those people that wants to take pictures with a SLR camera, then you should really practice, taking pictures of your nephew in front of a chain link fence with the sun behind him. Things like that to get the metering right and not have to think about it. Because, I took some good pictures, but there's a bunch of pictures that I didn't get. I took bad pictures because I wasn't quick enough with
the backlight.
Yeah, because that backlight is
textures.
It's so hard.
It's not like you get a chance to go all the way around them and get the sun in your favor.
Yeah. Yep. And, you're doing a lot of shooting from less than 15 feet. So if you have one of those big telescopic lenses, it's actually not going to do you any good. So I would say that. A little Jute binoculars are pretty awesome because there's some fantastic bird life there. You don't have to be a bird nerd, but you will, if you're paying attention, you will see some lifeless type birds. We spent one day going up the Nile on it wasn't a paddle boat, but it was styled to be a paddle boat, upper deck, whatever. And I quickly identified 6 pretty serious birders, mostly because everyone else was looking at these birds and they didn't even care, but they had gigantic cameras. So Jess asked, the naturalist on the boat, and they're like, yeah, there's this bird that lives up where we're going. And there are 3 rocks below Murchison Falls. And the bird nests on those 3 rocks, and that's the only place in the whole world where they nest.
Whoa.
Yeah, so we went up there and it was beautiful. We saw crocodiles and hippos and elephants and cinnamon-breasted bee eaters and whatever, all sorts of good stuff. And then we got up to that little set of 3 rocks, and those 6 guys that I had identified as birders stood up and brought out their hog leg length camera lenses, and they took 3, 4, 15 pictures of those cute little brown birds with the red beaks, and then they sat back down because they had checked the life list bird off.
Any other travel tips that you might think that would be handy? What you learned, like getting whatever visas you might need to get, or if you could have done it again, you could have cut a corner here.
Yeah, so you have to get a visa. You don't have to get it before you go there, but everyone that I talked to said you should. So we did. That was easy enough. I guess the other thing I would say is I would suggest, so Uganda's about the size of Iowa, give or take. It has 10 national parks. One of them is the Bwindi Impenetrable Forest, where you definitely should go see the gorillas if you go to Uganda. So you get the other 9 parks, and so you got 10 parks, the size of Iowa, 34 million people. It's really, really crowded. Really crowded. And one of the things that we did that I would have liked to have avoided was we did a lot of traveling, wake up in the morning in your nice place where you're staying, drive an hour or something through a village. It's not even woken up yet. Go to your national park, have your experience, and then drive back an hour through those villages that are quite awake now and see all of that stuff, and do it again tomorrow. And I think it's super valuable as a traveler to see those things, see how people are living and what percentage are wearing shoes and how they're, channeling water for irrigating crops and whatnot. But I don't think you need to see it twice a day, every day. So I would say get yourself a place in the impenetrable forest and get yourself a place to stay up on the Nile, like Queen Elizabeth National Park or something like that. Because there are plenty of animals. But some of those safari companies, they are super proud of their country and they want to show you all of it.
Language they speak there?
They speak English and they speak Swahili, and they have 52 other languages. So the road signs will be in English, Swahili, and whichever local language is predominant. So things are confusing that way,
Fantastic.
Yeah, and I think this is just for me paying attention or whatever, but I think the average Ugandan probably speaks a smattering of 8 or 10 languages. And, a lot of them are very similar. It'd be, like Wisconsin English to Tennessee English. Mostly it works, but some of it is very confusing. Just from listening to people talk and stuff, I even started picking out some words here and there. But, yeah, if you know how to...
Are there indigenous languages? And this may be a stupid question, but do they have an alphabet now? They're written. There's books, all that.
Yeah, that's all because the English colonized Uganda, so, and the Brits left in like 49 or something like that. But before they left, they definitely made a written language and gave them some guidance on some of that stuff, so that, because before that, basically every valley had its own thing going on.
They must have trout then and railroads if it's English.
They do, yep. Yeah, Winston Churchill called Uganda the Pearl of Africa. And yeah, I think I would agree. They definitely have some problems. They got some, deforestation stuff going on.
So many people.
Yeah, and they didn't really understand about anchor crops and rotation and whatnot, but that's not everywhere. And they raise lots of coffee. Those places are kind of rich landowner owned places. They also raise a lot of tea. Tea is really cool because tea needs to get harvested every day.
Where's tea from?
I think originally it's native to China, but the majority of it is harvested in India, I think. But they have a bunch in Uganda. And the cool thing about tea, as far as an uneducated population goes, is tea leaves need to be harvested every day. Like, they're only good for a day. Once they're 2 days old, they're too harsh or bitter or something. And so you'll see people walking the same hectare of land, 4 or 5 people walking that same hectare of land every day with a basket on the back where they're throwing the tea leaves over their shoulders into their basket. And they sell it for cash every day. So if you are willing to work, there's cash to be made every single day, which is pretty cool.
That plant has a pretty good way of making a living.
Yeah.
Using the humans.
Yeah, and, because it's temperate rainforest, equatorial Africa, there's stuff that's always ripe. Bananas are always ripe. And so you can pick bananas every single day and sell them and make a living. And we ate, we stopped at roadside stands and they'd have 4 or 5 or 13 kinds of bananas. Little ones, long ones, short ones, some that tasted like apples, some that tasted like lemons. All of these are not commercially viable because they won't ship. But man, it sure is fun to drive around and just eat a whole bunch of bananas that we can't get here, If you you go to your friend and say, you ever had an apple or a banana that tastes like an apple? They'd be all, no, man, apples taste like apples. Bananas taste like bananas. But in Uganda, and I'm sure that's a lot of the world is like that, you know. So even though they got their 34 million people and a lot of them don't have shoes, none of them have to starve. Yeah, I hope they make it. I do. That's why I encourage people.
You talk about the gorillas or the humans?
Talking about the gorillas. You know, I mean, maybe the Uganda humans might not make it, but there's 7.8 billion of us. We're going to be fine. I'm more concerned about the gorillas.
That was Shane Patrick talking about visiting the mountain gorillas in Uganda. If you want to learn more about Shane doing that kind of crazy stuff or anything else about 10-minute travels, check out 10minutetravels.com.
And we want to remind you, make sure your sense of humor matches your sense of adventure.
And please like, subscribe, and share this podcast on all the platforms.